else do you have in terms of AD mids? Well, Ucal does play the Jace. You could let that Tristana go through and pick the Jace into it. Ucal, I think, is fairly confident when it comes around to that sort of matchup, but you can see they're deliberating over this last ban because you just saw Vicla tear you a new one with that champion the last game.
It's really rough to let that one go through yet again. They are just going to end up banning it, so I think it's a rightful call by TT, even if maybe one that takes a little bit of cutting of the pride. Now, LeBlanc, another incredibly potent pick, is going to be locked in first and foremost by RA.
And Vicla played a load of games of this in the group stage, some excellent, some not excellent. There was the one game versus LNG where he forced Scout to go towards the Mazel. I believe that was a game which he ended up losing by the end of that, but hey, it was a good early game. So Ucal, what's his answer into that LeBlanc going to be? Once the AD mids are off the table, LeBlanc very commonly crops up. They're going to lock in that Zeri, which is completely fine in regards to just soul carry, which can leave alone in the bot lane for a while, let them scale up to 2 items. I really need to see what they're going to do about this mid lane matchup, though.
Right now, TT opting into potential team fight setup here. The Zeri always signaling you want some sustained team fighting there. Take advantage of her lightning crash. The Leona is the lock-in, though, for Feather.
That's what we were asking for. Something that's easier to engage with. Last game, it was, you know, just hope you land a great swell seed or a flash Q from Lilia, and maybe it'll work out. Lilia, much easier to play around. Leona, really, really tanky. Probably the tankiest support. And a lot of people will be, you know, saying, well, what about Alistar? Isn't he tanky because of his ult? The thing is, Leona is tanky all the time because Eclipse is not an ultimate, and you get it very, you know, very, very regularly. And certainly tankier than something like that Nautilus, which does mean you can tank up that hook somewhat. If you're going for a first pick kind of reset comp with something like the Viego being hovered, you'd much rather be against the Nautilus than you would be a Leona, just because it's much easier to kill that Nautilus than that Leona.
I'm wondering if you're going to just give all the eggs to Xiaohao here to delve out or maybe take for himself. It is the Viego locked in, so a very particular style we're seeing from RA so far tonight.
Yeah, it's a lot of dive, a lot of single target threat. This time you're leveraging that into a Viego that can reset and potentially win team fights. Now TT, you could potentially look to lock in something like a Sejuani here if you really wanted him to say, look, if you're going to look for that first kill, you have to go through a tank, and they go the exact opposite direction and say the Nidalee. Now this is surprising to me because one, Nidalee, really hard to play. At least you have that Leona for setup. But also, when we saw Nidalee pick towards the start of summer, we saw Viego answering that champion, because Viego can escape a lot of the early damage because you can just W out and E out to safety as well with the extra move speed from that Harrowed Path. But also, you're very happy to just farm up. You can be a bit easier team fighter than Nidalee by an absolute mile. TT have locked themselves into a early game snowball composition with this Nidalee. It is much harder to play it out the longer the game goes.
Which is interesting when I started by saying, you know, the Zeri wants to get those sustained team fights, you know, things like that. Well, it's going to be a little bit of both fires, I guess, for TT so far as they change a little bit of their draft priority. The Ashe is the first ban in the second phase for TT. RA going to ban away that TF.
Yeah, RA wanting to ban away some of the easier follow-up champions from each role. So that's Twisted Fate gone in terms of that point-and-click gold card. Gold card into Spear is really, really nasty. TT, they removed some of the, some of the better combos with the Nautilus. I mean, yes, the Kai'Sa gives you the extra ability to maneuver in the team fight, so you're also great at diving onto that first target as well. So they can still lock in something like a Varus that could be potentially very strong for Assum, plus it's a very good laning phase for him. Wouldn't surprise me if that's locked in.
It's kind of obvious, it feels like, what the second phase is going to have in store for it. You're really looking for solo lane combinations with the Nidalee here for TT. And on the other side for RA, you're maybe opting into more of the sustained pressure for side laning things out now that you have the LeBlanc.
I think TT also would really like to get themselves another frontliner, though, just because you are against quite a bursty comp already with just the Viego and the LeBlanc. If you lock in something like a Cassante, it's an okay blind pick, and now that the Camille is gone, you could go towards that. Are we seeing the Zeri top lane? Alright, okay, we are seeing a flex of the Zeri into solo lane. So we have seen this about the place. Zeri is in fact a flex pick right now. Didn't necessarily expect it out of TT. Ziggs likely going to the bot lane alongside the Leona.
That's actually so huge. Now RA actually on the back foot trying to figure out what they want to answer into this one. The thing is with that, now you've kind of let your cards go Jax is up and going to be the choice here. Don't know exactly how that matchup goes, but would assume that it's interesting to be able to get your pick knowing now that there could be some of that flexibility going on with TT's draft.
And of course, you've got the counter-strike to avoid auto attacks. Also, Zeri doesn't hit through the wave unless you've already used your dash, and if you've used your dash, Jax is going to jump on you. So if you stand in the middle of the wave as the Jax compared to the Zeri, you can get some really good trades. I think that this is not a bad matchup. Plus, also, Xiaoxu, very good player of the Jax. He used this champion to take down LNG in the group stage. It can also be a bit more of a consistent damage threat. The Jhin locked in against a very low tank composition from TT as it stands could be very impactful. Hovering over that Poppy. Okay, what are we doing now, folks? What are we doing now? Is this going to be Ziggs mid? Is it going to be Zeri mid? Is this going to be? Is it going to be? What I mean, is it going to be Poppy mid into LeBlanc?
The Zeri mid.
I think it might be the Zeri mid. It does mean that you have the Poppy just tank matchup against the Jax. You can stop his leap strike. It's a fine matchup. You can be a front line and another tank, which we said TT needed. The Zeri, I don't think you're going to be able to beat the LeBlanc in lane very easily. I think this, I mean, there's no AP build left for kind of Zeri in mid lane, I'm pretty sure, so this will be more of a traditional marksman. And of course, you need that as well with the Ziggs in the bot lane. I do think you're going to get bullied out by the LeBlanc a little bit, but you're looking to survive that and then go towards it later. I'm worried about how the Nidalee works together with that. I don't think it's easy combos to play with the Poppy and the Zeri and your solo laners, so I think Beichuan, who already had a difficult game one, has got an even heavier burden of difficulty placed upon him in this second game. On the other side, really easy first pick reset composition for that Viego coming out from Rare Atom. They have a much easier job trying to snowball these team fights and see if they can close out this series 2-0.
They also go with a little bit more of that style of some side laning, but also the resets. And I think that's really important to kind of keep an eye on as RA go through in this group and see if that's going to be a consistent style for them. Honestly, though, somebody needs to get TT a chef's hat because they be cooking. And I'm really interested in how this draft is going to pan out, especially with the kind of one-sided nature of that game number one. Ucal's going to have a lot of weight on his shoulders, but I think this jungle matchup is where I want to put the spotlight on, especially early on. TT need to wake up and get into this series and push us all the way to 3. It's the first time we're seeing both these two teams, and we expected this one to be a close affair. RA trying to sweep away this best of 3. Let's get into game 2. Let's go. Let's go. They're waking up. Let's go.
Get a few eyes from the audience. I appreciate that. I think it's, you know, I have to say, what I mean, I don't consider myself like a super fan of any one team. Well, okay, maybe at different points. But on the whole, I just like being in esports events, and I like being in the crowd, so I just like cheering for the team. I'm not the person who decides that, you know, I just want both teams to have fun. But I am there to cheer for both teams because I think it just adds to the experience. It's fun.
I love it. I want to be there. So, like, every time I hear the Gyos, I just want to be there, yell it alongside them because, you know, me and my roommates, we're all casters. We get to go to LCS, and every time we just cheer. We just get to have fun. You just get to be a fan and yell. And maybe that gets annoying sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. And just being a super fan of League of Legends as a whole, these pros is super cool. But anyways, getting into this game number 2, I did want to keep track of Beichuan and Xiaohao. They will be starting on top sides here, pathing towards bot, just like last game.
And we did say that Beichuan needs to do a lot in the Nidalee. It's really hard to play this champion later out into the game. And against this kind of composition with a load of follow-up CC from Jhin, Nautilus, LeBlanc chains, Counter-Strike, it's really hard to play this out. So Beichuan needs to have a great early game. He's not going to be able to get himself very easily into the enemy jungle if we see TT losing this bot lane as well in terms of the early push, which you kind of expect with only just one level in the Ziggs queue. It's going to have to be lane gank rather than easy invade, which is not really what you want to be seeing. So I'm not really liking what this Nidalee is bringing to this composition. Not many people as well, in terms of junglers, have the Nidalee pass from me, where I say, look, you are good enough to make this champion work. I think one of them is Kanavi. I think another one is Tien. Should occasionally get it. Depends on how he's feeling on the day. It's quite a limited number of people who play this out.
I'm also I'm very interested that we'll get that action from them. I'm sure. Oh, this top lane getting a little dicey there. But also, it's a very double-edged sword in bot side. And that's another point we talked so much about in game number 1 is kind of Assum versus 1xN. The Jhin is potent, especially with the Nautilus. The combos, the burst damage is huge. But if Feather and 1xN can catch that immobile Jhin, it's going to be very difficult once level 3s come along. So I'm very curious to see what this pressure lies in bot side and what the influence from the junglers will help out.
See the Beichuan, Xiaohao both finishing their last camps right now. 1xN doesn't have himself that level 3 for the full combo from the Ziggs. Beichuan, what's he going to do? He might just settle for a Scuttle Crab contest, but even then, Jwei's in river first. He'll be able to spot out what's happened with these jungle camps. We'll see that they've gone down right now. Beichuan's actually going towards top Crab because he realizes there's no real platform to him to play towards bot side Crab right now.
Vicla. Get the clone pop there. Ucal actually able to do a pretty decent job in this mid lane with that fleet footwork, helping him keep the sustain up.
I love how Ucal's playing that. There might be a fight towards bot side. Let's talk about the matchup. Well, we're going to talk about this kill bot, baby!
Man, the satchel charge is huge, though. It gets him out to safety. Feather going to tank a lot more of that damage on the back end.
Okay, good satchel out to safety. But yeah, what Ucal's been doing really impressively here is every time that Vicla's jumps too close to him, he's eating forwards into the trade, knowing he'll take a bit of burst, but he can then get like a double tap with the Q right click, where you get like the zap off your fingers. Sparks ready, as you hear many times.
The passive.
That's the one. And you can get yourself some really good hard trades like that. He has the barrier too, which he's used to get himself some hard trades. It looks like he's jumping forwards into the trade, trading aggressively, and just trying to make sure that Vicla... okay, so we did see a bit of the AP Zeri, so it has been around, but it was a number of years ago. This one was
870 days ago. Yeah. That's a long time, man.
It's been a while, but I really think that Ucal taking that kind of trade makes a lot of sense because LeBlanc, the big failing of LeBlanc as a champion is that she doesn't have sustain, which is really bad in extended laning phases. If you take bad trades, you stay in that bad laning state. So Ucal playing out that matchup fine so far.
Just went back to PTSD of when Zeri would go AP and just literally murder an entire team with Ultra Shock Laser. Oh god.
Pretty sure I cast the first game of AP Zeri in Pro. It was M&S in the NLC in 2022. Of course, went on to be the C9 mid laner. But he played that right there. He played that into... I think it was when everyone was blind picking Corki mid. So you'd have like these really big punishing compositions where you could play AP Kai'Sa mid, you could play the Zeri as well. That's a really good dodge from Hoya. That was really fun. But yeah, I'm glad that AP Zeri is gone because that is not a fair build. It was not okay.
I got taken to a dark place. All right, I got taken to a dark place. Speaking of dark places, though, there's not a lot of vision for the side of TT around this dragon. Front and center RRA. They're going to try to contest for this one. Long range hook, deadly flourish on top of it, and reset might be coming along. 1xN going to satchel charge his way out of there. Now Feather, missing his engage, is a little bit in trouble now. He will be the primary focus of RA, but guess who's the focus for TT? It was over onto Xiaohao. They don't get him. A flash comes out for Beichuan. We got chaos in bot side.
If Feather had just flashed for his Zenith Blade, they definitely get away with at least one kill there. They have the Ignite. That would have been so big. Feather just shorting out his Zenith Blade, rather. Didn't, of course, have that ultimate way too low level for that one. But TT very nearly setting something up for Beichuan. Losing the flash on the Nidalee instead, though, is not what they wanted. Again, kind of need the Nidalee to do a lot of work. He's not really managed to do much in this early game so far.
Bot lane for RA is getting so much extra money from all that vision. They just double cleared wards in that Pixel Brush and the Tri-Bush. So, yeah, little things. But that's some of that 2v2 action that I kind of wanted to highlight earlier, is you do have that double-edged sword, the burst poke of the Jhin Nautilus. And it's been working out pretty well for them so far. Pretty hefty lead, 220 CS down there, as we see more trades in mid, too.
Yeah, when it comes to Ziggs in bot lane, you kind of suck at early levels at points, particularly against long-range kind of pick kind of lanes like this where you can't auto-attack the wave because your Q cooldown's too long. Beichuan might have to hop out the back of the pit. Gets 2 out of this, though, before RA turn up to the party.
That's actually where Hoya. He walks right into that bush. Xiaohao was waiting for him. He's going to pop that steadfast presence, make it out alive. Jwei caught out in transition a little bit. Not going to tank the spear, though. Nicely done. Spider-Man in his way to victory. The last grubby is going to be given some tender love and care by Xiaohao. Although Beichuan not really wanting to let this one up.
So the thing is, I don't think Beichuan should have thrown that spear. He might have been able to delay until his smite came back up. I think maybe he was just saying, well, okay, if I land that spear, maybe he goes for an early smite or something, and you can get the steal through that way. Still two of the grubs over towards TT. And Ucal doing pretty well in this early game. back to this, because he's doing very well at keeping up the CS. He's going towards a Hex Drinker first, which will stop some of that immediate kill pressure coming through from Vicla. Wants to be side lane against that LeBlanc for most of the game, I suppose, so he'll be able to go back and get that one. Considering that LeBlanc is meant to be a lane bully and wants to snowball quite hard, this is better than the lane matchup I had thought would come through, but he's showing that he knows the matchup. And I love this, because we talked about this in Game 1. Ucal is a player which did so well in 2023, has struggled to be that more consistent carry through into this summer particularly. So for him to have this kind of matchup can help. Xiaoxu pressing the ult.
Yeah, we get the little trade on top side. Nothing else gonna really come a bit. I guess the biggest conversation and kind of scratching my head moment is kind of impacts for both these guys later on. Vicla is going to be looking to one-tap, 3 members of TT as a whole, whereas Ucal will have a lot of that big AoE sustained damage in the fight.
And he's going to have solo lane XP to work with that too, which is kind of important. Also, it's quite easy to get gold into mid laners when you get them onto side lane turrets. Because TT have already got those 2 grubs, you get a couple from the next one. Maybe Ucal can just get in towards the side lane. And the problem becomes he doesn't have teleport. He took the barrier, so he can take these aggressive trades in lane. Wonder how that's going to affect mid game. Typically, LPL mid laners love going into side lane out of turrets and using grubs to take them down. Not going to be easier to do that in this case.
I think it's going to look to a lot of where Beichuan and Xiaohao want to put their pressure as well. Is how much we'll see those 2 be impacted. Vicla's going to have a lot of fun in the side lane, so is Xiaoxu. And I think that's a key difference between the 2 compositions here for RA, and a little bit of strength laying in their hands, is they do have that potential for the side lane strength and side lane pushing to kind of play away from the macro. But they'll take the first dragon of the game as well on top of all of that.
I mean, they were smashing through bot lane, so it's not a surprise that they end up taking that objective. So TT, they get themselves grubs.
No right. Jin bias.
Yeah, settle down, you fanboy. I say that as someone who's had to. The thing is, when it comes to my own kind of like biases regarding Ahri, obviously, I've had to watch so many bad Ahri games across 2 years now of, well, going on 3, 22, 23, 24. I kind of like, the allure kind of ran out after a certain point. I feel like at least the Jin players have had some more fun moments, at least in this year,
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that, but he's memed every time he gets picked and he's talked down on. That's all I'm saying. Jwei going for the blind hook into the bush. Get some vision there. TT are actually waiting to see if he overextends. Oh, did he take the butt? Hey, if you know this is Cougar country, I don't know if you step up to it. Xiaohao will be the one that didn't see the sign postage. But Jwei comes in. He's going to get the double engage with the depth charge. Deadly flourish on top of it all. Xiaohao's waiting for the health bars to get a little bit lower, but 1xN TPing in does make the difference. Now Jwei in a lot of trouble there. This is actually going to be just fine. Curtain call as he opens up. 1xN going to take a lot of those shots. Got Keeper's Verdict teed up, and 2 are out. Re-engage potential is there. Hoya going to knock him back, but 1 kill already goes over to Assum. You're starting to get the resets, but is it going to be a lightning crash over? He's immediately CC'd. Ucal's got to fight his way out of this one. He flashes, but gets counter-struck immediately. Now Xiaoxu, he needs to fight a Cougar with his bare hands here, feels like, and he's not going to be able to help as 1xN's the one that takes him down.
So, that was the thing. That's going to be just a fight out of nothing. In the top side, it starts with TT trying to find a pick in the enemy jungle. They don't cleanly find one, so RA, they go back into it. It ends up being a lot of gold over to the side of Assum. He walks away with a kill and 2 assists. On the other side, it's a decent amount of gold over to Beichuan. We did say that he used to do a fair amount in this early game. That's something, at least. They tried to make that work.
True.
Also getting to walk away with the extra grubs as well off the back of this. I think that might even be the big victory. They hang around before the grubs spawn. They get themselves this top lane play, whilst also forcing Xiaohao out to a death while Beichuan remains alive. Means they get themselves 5 grubs, which can potentially help them play at their macro before. A lot of important things have happened by this point in the replay already. I think there was a kill combo missed from Beichuan onto Jwei, as I think he didn't expect his own spear to hit. Beyond this point, though, it really just feels like the extra engage range from RA is fighting on one side, but they've already taken enough damage that it becomes really hard to engage fully into the fight. So when they use that range, they try and close that distance. It does get a little bit messy. Ucal, very, very close to killing Vicla with that right-click passive auto. Beichuan does manage to just about combo up for a kill at the end of this too. Xiaoxu, very, very scary angles from him, though. If he gets that later into the game will just end because Jax does those kind of things.
Yeah. I will say, very bold from Ucal to E over that wall into 4 people. I like the idea, though, because you're also giving a lot of distraction where 1xN is giving a ton of damage over the walls. And I really want to see how this dual carry works in kind of these team fights for Ucal and 1xN and who's going to take the primary onus, because we are on first item now for 1xN at least.
And he's even gone towards the Seraphs, too, saying, okay, well, I'm up against decent amount of backline access. Don't typically see that Seraphs coming out of the Ziggs anymore. It's typically gone towards the Ludens into the Liandry's for the full burst combo. 1xN realizing, hey, I might get assassinated at some point. Let's try and stop that. I think it's quite telling in terms of his understanding of this game. We'll see whether that works out. I wonder if he could be more safe. Xiaoxu might not be safe here. Doesn't have himself that flash. Feather does have everything, but that's a loop strike out a little bit further, and that's out to safety, in fact.
Pretty hefty level advantage there as well. Oh, Vicla just tanks the spear, and Beichuan will clean that one up.
That is a nasty-ass combo. That's going to be the block from the Steadfast Presence. Stops the dash out. Vicla had used one of his cooldowns, and that would get you thrown out of a casino. You do a bit of cooldown counting. You can see that one of the distorts is down. Uses the Mimic straight into the face of the other one because that's the only escape tool he had left. And Beichuan gets himself 2-0-2. He's going for the newer Nidalee build where you don't go towards the Lichbane first. You go towards the Liandry's for a bit more ability to kind of like just poke out with spears and don't have to force yourself into melee range. I don't know whether I love it. I don't know whether I love a lot of the Nidalee builds right now, but hey, he's strong right now. One Nidalee is still one AP item, and if he can start landing damage, this could start to be a very scary Cougar.
Oh, we're getting to a tussle here. Jwei gonna tank it. He has to go for the engage or he's just gonna die. Vicla on the other side getting a chain. Jwei does end up dying. Now it's RA falling apart at the seams. Their atoms are being split by TT's lightning.
Oh man, yeah, we are seeing ourselves a bit of fission here on the Rift, as it does seem like Vicla has just had a minute of madness where he ends up dying in side lane, dying in a fight. Hoya, he might be in a bit of trouble here. It's a good amount of damage from Xiaohao.
That Kraken Slayer coming up clutch here. You also have Xiaoxu who's waiting over the top. He's got his lamppost ready to go, and it's Xiaohao that's going to claim it.
So, side lane's really been the name of the game for the last minute or two. Sadly for TT, they don't have a cross map really in terms of towers. They're not going to be quick enough down to there. Herald's going to take potentially the top lane in a turret as well. TT, they have a teleport from 1xN if they want to defend it, but he's not necessarily the safest person to do this ever. Feather's coming to support, so it looks like it will just be the chunk onto that that turret.
A little bit of the wave clear, but yeah, about half health on that one. Trying to take advantage of it. But all right, they're playing a little bit to their win conditions we set out for them in terms of the side lane pressure. Maybe taking a couple of little team fights that they don't need to take, but I think that's something that TT will be very happy with because, again, their follow-through damage is insane. Feather has the go button for them, and it's big, bright, and red again this time around on the other side. So
reminder that this is just after Vicla had died in a side lane, and he still doesn't have his flash. He really overstays, misses the first chain, goes for the second, but gets completely combo. He walks into melee range of a Leona. Look, this is why Vicla is such a confusing player to cast, because he has fantastic games. And then he has moments like this where he just loses his team a team fight by walking into melee range of a Leona stun.
We've seen both mid laners go into melee range here. Maybe we're back to melee mids, you know? Maybe they're just feeling really confident with it. But both guys have had a little bit of questionable moves this time around.
There's so much copium with that. If LeBlanc is going mid lane...
I want a melee ADC besides Nymeara.
I mean, Tryndamere is right there.
Not.
Tryndamere, Yasuo are both right there.
Doesn't fit my narrative, Nymeara.
Well, we'll see whether we get any advancement on that later on. So, TT, I feel like they've been playing around side lanes pretty well on the whole, in this game at least. It's something that they struggled with in groups. It's been better today. Now we've got Feather, Beichuan roaming around again. You've got Beichuan again, strong point of power. Vicla has flash back up, so a bit more safe. And
still bold though against the Nidalee. You're just begging to have your displacement spaced out with the spear. They're gonna siege this one here too.
I mean, Beichuan is really, really strong. Each of these spears, if one of these spears lands, that's going to be a turret afterwards, but he doesn't have the cooldown right now.
They didn't get the comp. Jwei tanks that one and even takes a ton, but here comes resets for Xiaohao. That's the big one. Zenith Blade's going to be available for him. They're just going to clear some of this one. So TT overextend.
I mean, yes, go for the combo as the Leona, but do it when your Nidalee has the spear cooldown. He does it after he's just thrown one. You can see that already, so he doesn't have the immediate javelin toss. Follow-up, 1xN doesn't throw the bomb afterwards. That feels like just a sloppy combo coming in from Feather and co. I don't know who made that call, but that's going to be a death for nothing, and it does mean that TT slow down on bot side, maybe to the point where a fight starts.
God, Beichuan, he's walking straight into the maw. We'll see the flash from Xiaohao, and they're going to go straight on to Beichuan. Assum is coming over as well. Deadly flourish over the top, and the man is a showman for a reason. He'll pick up the kill from length.
TT, they fail that first combo due to the poor combo from TT.
Xiaohao.
Well, they're just going to catch that back.
Xiaohao! He just walked straight into there. Oh my goodness, this is a little bit back and forth here.
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So both teams making sizable mistakes, but one team has grub, so it's much easier to capitalize on that. Ucal picks himself up another kill, and the mid lane Zeri is looking pretty terrifying right now. Because TT are also playing around the Zeri as like their central point on a side lane, they don't need to teleport anywhere, so the barrier is completely fine. They have a Hex Drinker and a barrier now. Good luck getting through that. As particularly Vicla, but anyone going through that extra shield is going to be really, really annoyed when they come through. Where are we starting with this? Okay, we're starting with this. Look, so, folks, this is after the combo had already come through. Beichuan flashes away from that deceptively large hitbox from the Nautilus. Beichuan uses his W early, but it's not like he can really get out safe by that point. So, I don't know, this feels like they overstayed after they missed that combo just before, but then Xiaohao does exactly the same thing just after. Spotted on a ward, knows he spotted on a ward because it's just
like,
swept
nobody's
out,
in there.
walks up, and look, just because you have 3 people on the same side of the map doesn't mean that all 3 people are ready to, and in range to follow up on something that happens after. Big mistake from Xiaohao.
All right, I want to check in on the kind of win conditions we set up earlier because we were starting to get to the point where we're getting very close to second items. TT's team fighting sustained damage is going to be starting to come online, and RA are still looking for the side lane advantages that they've been trying to find this entire time.
Hoya is in a 1v3 on that side lane.
On the wrong side of the map.
He has ult, but needs to be careful of the counter strike. He can't stop him charging that up.
Serpentine. And they're just going to try to find some alcove gameplay onto Hoya. He's a pretty tanky boy, but they are 3 bodies against 1. He'll slowly but surely go down. So RA taking a lot of time up here while they're losing in bot side potentially, as they actually get the outplay from Assum down there. But a little bit of movement from TT back to mid.
Well, yeah, maybe Assum outplays, but Vicla doesn't. Vicla dies again in the side lane, and remember, one team has the 5 grubs. That's going to be in a turret bot lane, in a turret mid lane, extra kill over to... Well, it's a kill apiece, so it's one apiece overall, but I mean, considering that Hoya survives that long, it does buy a lot of time because Xiaoxu could have teleported down towards one of those lanes to finish things off. At least he's going to be able to get himself an inner turret towards this top side. Even without the grubs, he is still Jax, and that makes it particularly easy. Ucal!
It's like a mirror, I swear. Oh my goodness. Okay, Ucal's looking to shatter that mirror here. He does end up taking a little bit up from 1xN to clear out Xiaohao. Oh, he's got the fancy feet. Ends up getting auto-attacked by Vicla in the end to take him down.
Ucal jumps forwards with that barrier. This is a wild game. We are just...
No
one wants to be on the same side of the map. We just go complete split map, going towards different lanes. This time it's going to be Ucal that's caught out, but TT get a dragon off of it. So, I mean, what's the grand total here? We have... top lane turret, we had bot lane, mid lane turret on the other side. We had dragon on one side, but we had an extra, but we had 2 kills apiece. I don't even know who this realistically this might favor RA because now Jax is so ungodly fed, but it's not like you gave over a small amount of gold on the other side. Vicla, once again, just caught out on a side lane, and you know, we praised him so much for that game 1. Fantastic Tristana game. But this is the problem with Vicla, is that sometimes he just ends up having these really dud games where he puts his team into a hole by his own mistakes. And it feels like right now, the LeBlanc being so far behind the game is not going to contribute to this at all.
Yeah, I mean, you will still have side lane pressure later in the game, but it's going to take a while. I think Xiaoxu is the one we're looking at now with that, since he's on second items completed too. The other person I want to keep an eye on for RA is Assum. He is a gen, maybe people downplay his damage, but Lord Doms with IE is first item. You do pack a bit of a punch, but it's all about moving in these team fights because, again, they have a lot of spacing.
Another replay. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, if we're going to show Vicla dying on one side, got to show Ucal on the other. He does have a ridiculous amount of turnaround potential. You notice how he just uses the barrier, just runs into people. Really, really powerful. But, you know, you talk about that Jin and the damage which he has. Even the W right there was really slapping out some damage. Great follow-up. that Jin 203. Jin has really benefited from the item changes where, yes, a lot of the crit changes have gotten a little bit weird, but a lot of the items that were removed or changed affects the Jin really well because he gets so much extra AD from stuff like the Infinity Edge, and of course the Lord Dom's giving so much more just flat, well, not flat, but percent penetration instead of giving the bonus against higher HP targets now. So he's really, really happy. We need to see if he can take over a fight now. He has a lot of damage.
Oh, they're going to go in on 1xN over there. I did want to make a point, but Jwei is going to make sure I can't make that. Mega Inferno Bomb used by 1xN to get the kill, but not traded back this time just yet. I was going to say, there's a bit of a worrisome state starting to happen in the side lane right now. Hoya's like fully losing that fight up against Xiaoxu now, so I think they're going to have to find a way to deal with that one as Assum takes an extra spear, almost half his health down. Yeah,
the real question is whether Hoya can wave clear against the Jax, because if you can do that, that's fine. And I think he should
just
still
get the Jax show. So maybe.
Yeah. And I think at this point, this is one of the great things about tanks in side lane is that you don't get the push, but you can typically survive and wave clear, and at least CC someone under turrets. They can't really get themselves the big hits all the same. So we'll have to see whether Hoya can manage that. On the other side, because Ucal has the barrier, it makes his side lane 1v1s much stronger. Now, it's hard of him to get to those side lanes, but we can see that Ucal, huge advantages, has 2.5 items, going towards the third item as well. If he gets himself a Bloodthirster, barrier, and Hex Drinker, like, this dude is going to be so hard to kill. He can't build the shield blow. He has that lifeline passive coming in from the Hex Drinker already. There was a patch ages ago where you could go for more and shield bow and it was not okay. I think it was Sterex as well. You could get all three at once. It was just absurdly strong. But yeah, Ucal is at the point where I think he can control whatever lane matchup he's going into. And because we're playing such a wide map, trading side lane for side lane, having someone who's such a wrecking ball like this Feds area in a side lane is really important.
I love to see Ucal flexing his muscles. Probably the favorite amongst a lot of fans for TT on the team, the guy who's most expressive on the team, but also he's been a tried and true member for 2.5 years now, and might not be having the best split of all that time with TT, but he's paid his dues. Now he's being able to pop off in this area. Unique pick in its own right.
Yeah, we don't get to see this one too often. This is one of my favorite things about the LPL. We have 17 teams, and it would be quite easy for a lot of these teams to fall into the background. A lot of our teams do a lot of pretty insane cooking in the kitchen, though, if they're given the chance to. It's one of the reasons why LPL is just really fun to watch for me, regardless of which teams play, because you just know that there's just that occasional chance that someone's going to pull out something a little bit wild.
I'm here for it. But again, it all goes back to how it works out for the composition. You're talking about a little bit of the side lane strength, but it's also going to have the duality of being extremely strong in the team fights as well. Almost on 3 items now, having completed that Navori Flicker Blade. Going to be really close to that one. We are getting some movement around this barren side of the map, but TT, they're a little bit respectful of what RA can do on the map, even with no turrets out here. Yeah,
both teams are going to be respectful of each other, because if you get picked off by Nautilus Jin, yes, that's very, very dangerous. On the other side, we've been talking about how Jin is really strong. 1xN has the same amount of gold as this Jin, despite Assum's high kill participation, so that Ziggs combo is going to be absolutely disgusting. That's the Jin W. This is the problem.
They're opening up. Xiaoxu on the flank here. He's going to end up finding out 1xN and just absolutely smacks him with the lamppost. Now Xiaohao is going forward. They're looking for resets, and they're going. Another season pass here for RA as they're trying to get more. Hoya is going to go down, but it's traded immediately back to health bars. Not so high for RA. One spear could make the difference, but Beichuan can't land it.
And it is the Jin W which comes up trumps. 1xN doesn't even get his ultimate off. That coming through could have been the difference between these health bars being slim as they are right now or just gone. So RA, they find themselves a pretty clutch play within that mid lane. It doesn't lead to that much, though, because Xiaohao goes down and Beichuan is still alive. Smite to no smite, so Dragon is still available. I think that Beichuan might even be able to go for a solo right there if he wanted to, but he knows there's a Wooden River and he wouldn't be able to get there unseen. Where do we start with this? We're going to start with the Jin W. It's, the problem there is that multiple members of TT end up stacking on top of each other, so Ucal can't step out of that Jin W, and it means that Hoya is then forced to kind of go in on the other side. Great flanking teleport, timing at the same time, rather, not teleport, from Xiaoxu as he gets himself onto the backline. This was very close to a wiped out team fight, but Ucal manages to thread the needle just about to stop the resets coming through.
Yeah, Ucal had some serious damage potential there. Is now on that 3rd item completed. As the Static Shiv gives him a ton of teamfight potential here. 1xN also on 3 items now with the Crypt Bloom completed. RA can try to move in mid lane with a TP from Vicla to rejoin. But Dragon is still on the table. TT had started it. We're looking at both teams moving over for a tussle.
Yeah, Ucal won't have the barrier this time, but will have that Bloodthirster. It's going to be RA walking forwards, looking for poke, using that LeBlanc to set up for the Jin W. Dragon should just go down.
It's burning. TT not going to move in just yet. A lot of vision to clear out before they can. Some poke back through as the Mega Inferno Bomb got used. Zenith Blade not going to connect there for TT. Both teams walk away.
Now they do. So, 2 dragons apiece now, and that means we are in for a very even game. 2 dragons, we are within 200 gold. The kills are exactly mirrored across the board, which does mean that, yeah, these fights, I love this. We're hopefully getting ourselves, again, a real mosh pit of a load of fights here in the Nirvana group between these 2 teams in their first series down amongst all of the teams that finished bottom 2 within their groups. It is a fight for survival. It doesn't always feel like it, but when it is, a lot of teams which have struggled to find their footing, getting series like this early onto the board to start stabilizing your own gameplay is really, really important. And this is a very difficult game to call at the moment.
And I asked TT to get their head in the game a little bit after game number 1. They definitely have. I mean, this is a stark contrast to what we had in game number 1, where RA was completely dominant the whole way through, it felt like. TT definitely gave them a run for their money here, and their composition will be very strong as we move forward and the scaling starts coming online there. I do wonder the entrances for RA, how easy they're going to be to execute once you just get this meatball composition for TT.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you get that Jin W on someone who's not part of that meatball, which is, you know, one of the 3 squishies stood behind them, then things get very, very interesting.
3 for 5 chance, you know? 3
yeah,
out of 5.
That's exactly how maths works. Yeah, what's that? There was that one wrestler who was like, oh yeah, 1 in 33 chance of beating me, or whatever it was.
So you're saying there's a chance?
That's the one. Look, anyway, I can't remember the whole of that speech, and it was all over the place. Maths is important, you know, folks. All the same. RA, if they get themselves that Jin W onto an important target, then things open up. Then you can see that Assum really good accuracy on the Ashe and then on the Jin. Here in game 2, Baron started up. RA will have to answer, but TT, they can't stand in the pit. Such dangerous terrain for them against those skill shots. Red side Barons are one of the hardest things to do against long-range compositions because they can just shoot at you like a fish in a barrel.
Yeah, there's really no way out, and your exits are very long and thick walls. Not very easy to traverse there. I think that RA want to buy a little bit of time, though, because Vicla is very close to Rabadon's. TT not really wanting to give them any room for that one, though. They're going to try to invade into the jungle and take away this blue buff as well.
That's something, and remember that team blue buff now. It's one of the changes that came through at the start of this year. If you kill a buff beyond 20 minutes, it gives it to the entire team. Blue buff for the Nidalee and for the Ziggs in regards to getting more heals from the Nidalee, which can help mitigate some of the poke, and then of course more spears and shots across the board. Anyway, very, very powerful. So nice to take that one away, and also just takes away some extra gold away from the side of Rare Atom in terms of those jungle camps.
So we are on 3 items for majority of the entire game. 4th item for Xiaoxu if you're special, I guess. But the Knight's Vow completed for Hoya, so going for a little
unless
bit
you
more
have 4 items.
I guess, yeah. That's what I'm saying, and I'm sticking to it. But Hoya with the Knight's Vow going for a little bit more of that defensive nature as well as the utilitarian build for his team, which I actually really like. Depending on who he put it on.
Yeah, I would imagine it's gone on to Ucal, because now Ucal will have the damage reduction, Bloodthirster, Barrier, Hex Drinker, which might go into a more before the next fight. If he's been given a lot of farm, they gave him the Krugs as well. Don't do Krugs again, stay in school. But yeah, if he gets himself that more, Ucal is going to have himself a really, really strong brawling potential, because he can just keep walking forwards. It's really hard to kill him. He's level 17, they're walking onto the Baron again, forcing RA to try and maybe get the teleport out, maybe looking for the fight.
They literally just want to get RA to overextend so they can pick a fight here. Like bullies on the schoolyard, TT just going to keep rinsing and repeating over and over again over this Baron.
And they're trying to get the teleport out of Xiaoxu. If they can get the teleport out of the Jax, the game becomes a lot easier. The poke's not really landing on either side right now. One team does have the jungle Soraka, which is late game Nidalee. it just happens that way. And when you've got so many levels into that Nidalee now, it's really easy to play around that. They have the ability to shrug off some poke at least and keep playing this back and forth. They don't want to commit to a fight. They don't want to get stuck in the pit. They want to call in the teleports if they can.
They realize maybe some backs came through. Bloodthirster got it completed for Assum, but he's not going to be here just yet. TT's going to go in for the fight and not going to hit the combo, though. They do get a little bit of poke damage in with the Mega Inferno Bomb, but this is an entrance for RA. Xiaoxu, he's looking for a massive counter-strike, not going to find it. Keeper's Verdict goes a little bit wide. Jwei makes it out alive. Nobody dies. And TT still front and center of the Baron.
This is a bit of a weird fight, but remember, again, you do have the healing potential of that Nidalee, even though, and of course the Warmog's coming in from Feather, they're going to go straight back towards this now. Alright, they have to get hit quick.
Who needs to play the game when we can just flip over Baron? Let's see it. Xiaoxu goes in, Deadly Flourish on top of it. Xiaohao's over the top. Xiaohao gets it! He's looking for Reset City once again. He's going to be locked down, dragged out. They're going to try to find it. He's in there like swimwear, baby! And TT hopes dashed.
Baron steal, handful of kills. Xiaohao saves the day. TT, the back and forth around the Baron doesn't work out. They should never have committed to a fight around the Baron. They overstay, and I think their impatience might just have cost them this game and the series. Xiaohao punishes so deadly. On that front, they're going to take a mid lane outer turret, they're going to take a dragon, another one to their name, and TT, they've just fallen apart at the crucial moment in this game.
Xiaohao feeling himself. Beichuan feeling himself in the ground as he goes down yet again. Xiaohao strutting his stuff with multiple emotes afterwards. He knows what he's done, and the damage has been done to TT. They will move for another turret in bot side, maybe even look at the inhib, but things are now respawning, at least for TT in terms of bodies, so 1XN will be here to try to clear.
TT, this is the team that took a game off of JDG. They looked like they were onto something special. Took a series even at the back end of the groups, and things looked so dire for them. But alright, you know, this team, they also took themselves some important games within that group stage. These two teams are maybe two of the better performers within that group stage. Fantastic flank from Xiaoxu. I think Xiaoxu on this Jax has been so good at timing his engages, but TT, on the other side of this, you have to question why they committed to this fight. They were going back and forth, trying to play around the longer plays where they could use the sustain. Why would they, at this point, choose to engage and sit within that pit yet again? That has been... it feels like that could just lose them this series, that impatience.
It's a bit unfortunate there, and unfortunately, Beichuan not able to get his smite off in there. I think he was more worried about trying to deny Xiaohao there with the execution that the Cougar Claws bring. But now RA front and center with all these powerful buffs. They have like a 5,000 Baron power play right now and still a minute to go on it. TT will have to be moved out of their own jungle. The wave's starting to crash in mid lane here.
So, TT, what do they have left? We haven't really seen one of those clean Ziggs combos for a while. There are a lot of items on 1XN that could potentially change an awful lot. Vicla is strong on the other side now, though. Despite having a difficult game for himself, he now has that death cap. He can start being a bit more of the assassin. LeBlanc, again, TT, what have you got left? You need to be able to land these skill shots and find a combo.
And we've reached a breaking point, it feels like, for both sides, where we started seeing so much promise from Beichuan's Nidalee, but we're also starting to see those conversations that we were having from draft, that what does the Nidalee do in these styles of compositions, and especially in later games. Because if you're not able to land those spears, you're not getting those 100 to zeros. Xiaohao's going to have a lot more ease of execution as long as bodies are falling for RA.
Yeah, absolutely. Beichuan, he is a bit of a heal bot now. He is the Soraka in the jungle. That is exactly what you end up doing, unless you're very accurate with your spears, but it's just not many players get to do that unassisted. Beichuan, he's a little harder to kill than most because he's gone towards the Liandry's, and then the Zhonya's after, so he has a bit more HP. He has himself that stasis, and he's high level as well, but it's just so hard to get value out of this. I think also one of the big things which TT have been struggling with so far is the fact that, so Ucal has a lot of gold, and he has done some decent damage, but it's so hard for him to stay within a damaging range, because Xiaoxu is continually forcing him to E over walls out of the fight, rather than into the play where he can start getting those big balls he plays. I think now he has an Infinity Edge, and again, the barrier's back up. I've got real eyes on Ucal to see, can he have that play like he had earlier into the game, where he can find that moment to go into 3-4 people, get the lightning crash, and start to execute people in the way that we've seen the real glorious Seri performances of the past. If he can manage that, I think TT very much still have the damage to run away with this game, even from behind.
Yeah, I mean, they do. If they don't get caught, though. As long as the spear doesn't land, there's the Keeper's Verdict. Curtain Call has been used. Ultra Shock Laser going to be on the back end of it. Fourth shot going to be blocked. Nice teamwork there from TT. They make it out alive, but they will have to be a little bit more careful as they extend out onto the map.
Yeah, so hard from TT here because they feel like they were the ones that made the pick onto Jwei there, but they're the ones who ended up losing more HP from it. Hoya's going to go back, and yes, he's going to be fine there. But the fact that TT can't even finish off these single target picks onto the Nautilus is a problem because Nautilus is not that tanky at late game against all of these items. You'd have to think, but they can't cleanly finish off these kills. So RA, they walk away with that. I think that Jwei being able to survive through those situations means that he can face check more appropriately. There's a minute until the next dragon, which means that, look at the blue wards which they managed to put down from this. If they can protect that vision line, use that to maybe even get the drop on TT with a big Jin W into a big combo, maybe that can change things. Assum has himself the Ucal Wild Arrows, that extra kind of mini second Infinity Edge with the burn over time on auto attacks on crits. He's going to be very happy putting out damage with singular auto attacks at this point. And Vicla has himself some reading material. He's got himself a Magi too. From this early game to saying, I got Death Cap and Magi, I love the mentality.
Yeah, I definitely do too. We got full items completed for the carries of RA. Also, Ucal just completed his last item with the Maul coming into completion there. Jwei not going to get the back into that spear on the other hand. And yeah, I think the amount of setup that RA have right now, they got to be careful of how TT want to navigate these team fights. But with Dragon coming up, they've got to get a little bit of presence around this mid lane. Looks like TT will have that first though.
Yeah, I can see Vicla jumping forwards, jumping backwards, Jin W.
Yeah, Feather missed his engage, and it immediately meant that RA is going forward. Now you're getting a nice lightning crash, though, from Ucal, and this is the kind of fight you like from TT, as things are a bit split from RA. You've got Jwei getting flashed on here, and Ucal going to take him down. Now Xiaoxu's here, though. Assum is huge. You've got to watch him. Xiaoxu going in. 1x in is down. Assum getting jumped on, but here comes big Vicla, and Assum is still after the grave. Go and clutch Xiaoxu with a double kill, and that might just seal the deal here for RA.
It is a mess of a late game team fight, but Rare, Assum, clutch it. It's gonna be the Jax running down the mid lane. There's a teleport back to base, so I don't think Hoya will be cancelled. I don't think the chain will get it in time, so it will be Hoya back to defend something. Vicla tried to cancel it, couldn't quite manage it. It will be an inhibitor and out, so it's not the end of the game. TT, that looked like the kind of team fight that would win them everything. Full item Zeri, walking into big team fights, giving some space to auto attack. But honestly, Xiaoxu has been such a strong member in these team fights that all of these plays feel like they are determined by him cleaning up at the back end of this. Watch this again. You can see that Vicla gets hit by a spear. Vicla is not able to play towards the first part of this. He has to come back in beyond this point. And Ucal does get himself a really good team fight because of the fantastic peeling from Hoya and from Beichuan and the rest of it throwing in heal, CC. Ucal, you'd think that the late game level 18 Zeri could run away with this, but Xiaoxu on the Jax is such a monster at this point that he can start to turn things around again. I think Assum chooses this moment well. Vicla's teleported back into the play because he doesn't end up dying. RA somehow improvise their way through into a team fight win.
Honestly, there's a little moment in there that caught my eye. Xiaoxu getting the counter-strike, then flashing, so he leaves behind Hoya. Just little things, man. But now RA forced to fight around the Baron. Last time around, Xiaohao got it. Xiaohao's going to go on resets, though, now as well. RA trying to put the nail in the coffin here. Xiaohao gets his GA pop now. Over the wall comes Xiaoxu. TT starting to run around like chickens with their heads cut off. They got Baron, but they might lose all those beautiful purple capes as they find the backline. And RA, they have swiped them clean. Beichuan makes it out alive, but he's the only one left for TT, and maybe not for much longer.
Oh, ThunderTalk have been silenced. The Zonyas for style points. Beichuan, he is the last remaining member,
man.
and even that will not last.
RA come out in spades here for their first series of Group Nirvana. They will make good on the almost of making it to Group A from the placement stage, but here they are with a 2-0 over TT.
Sublime team fighting from Rare Atom. I think ThunderTalk will want to bleach that game and that series from Group Nirvana's records, because it does feel like they were just bluntly outplayed in the big fights as the game went on. I think that there was some back and forth. I think that Ucal had a great game too on the Zeri, but it wasn't enough. For me, I think that Xiaoxu showing up again. I love when this guy is on the right kind of timing with the rest of his team. Vicla had some ups and downs. His Tristan was fantastic in game 1. Game 2 had left a lot to be desired, but the fact that Rare Assum has multiple members which can stand up and be accounted for when one player steps down is really important. That's the kind of game plan which might just end up seeing them through this Nirvana group.
God, what a